Hey, good day, folks. Welcome back. Man, people ask me why I didn't go over this. I watched it, but I didn't do a video on it. But he is amazing. Uh, I like it because he goes right in front of the same people that probably was prosecuting him in the DOJ. So here we go. Bam.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Pam, very much. What a job you're doing. And it's a true honor to be with you today.
Before we get started, I just want to say, where is the Epstein list? I want to know where the Epstein list. Maybe at some point during this speech he comes out. I think it was like halfway through or something like that. He says something. Maybe he didn't.
This is a storied hall, if there ever was one. And based on the crowd, I think we broke the all-time record.
Storied hall.
But as we begin a proud new chapter in the chronicles of American justice, this really is something. We're turning the page on 4 long years of corruption, weaponization, and surrender to violent criminals, and we're restoring fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law. And you're the people that are doing it. I'm very, very proud of all of you. Under the Trump administration, the DOJ and the FBI will once again become the premier crime-fighting agencies on the face of the earth. People ask me, what am I going to do about law enforcement all the time? The fake news back there, they're asking me that all the time. What am I going to do? And when are you going to do it? And I answer them by saying I've already done most of it by appointing the people that I've appointed. They're sitting right here. They've done most of it. I don't do it, they do it. Right, Pam? I think, you are so tough, they just don't know yet. Let me begin by congratulating the incredible people who will lead these historic reforms. And we start with somebody that you just saw, Pam Bondi. She's extraordinary, and I've known her very well for a long time. I watched her for a long time in Florida, for years in Florida, and highly experienced. She seems so young, but she's highly experienced, that I can tell you. She was a phenomenal attorney general in Florida, and she's going to do a really amazing job. Also, our new director of the FBI, Kash Patel. Kash, right. A man that I'm very proud of. I've known him and Emil for a long time under tremendous pressure. I saw these guys under some of the most corrupt judges. It's not even imaginable how corrupt they were. And these guys never wilted. They were not shy. They fought. They weren't afraid, and they were brilliant. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and Principal Associate Deputy Attorney Emil Beauvais. And thank you both very much. Great people. They're great people. The Chief of Staff, who's so highly respected, Chad Mizell. Thank you, Chad. Chad?
That's just a little bit.
Miller, what a man Stephen is. You remember the 51 intelligence agents that said, as an example, that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell came from Russia, when they knew it came right from his bedroom. They knew that. It was a big lie, and they knew it so well. They spied on my campaign, launched one hoax and disinformation operation after another, broke the law on a colossal scale, persecuted my family, staff, and supporters, raided my home, Mar-a-Lago, and did everything within their power to prevent me from becoming the president of the United States. With the help of radicals like Mark Elias, Mark Pomerantz, and these are people that nobody's ever seen anything like it. So many others, but these are people that are bad people, really bad people. They tried to turn America into a corrupt, communist, and third world country. But in the end, the thugs failed and the truth won. Freedom won, justice won, democracy won, and above all, the American people won. There could be no more heinous betrayal of American values than to to use the law to terrorize the innocent and reward the wicked. And that's what they were doing at a level that's never been seen before. And it's exactly what you saw with Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, and their cronies to do the building of the last 4 years. They ripped, what they've ripped down is incalculable. But what you're going to build up is likewise something that will be breaking all sorts of records. They set loose violent criminals while targeting patriotic parents at school board meetings. They dropped charges against Antifa and Hamas supporters while labeling traditional Catholics as domestic terrorists. The Catholics.
That's right. You can't forget all this. They want you to forget, but we cannot.
We did very well with the Catholic vote, so I want to thank them for that. They imported, they really did. Record numbers. I would say, what's with the Catholics? They're really after the Catholics, so I don't know.
They were.
They were after a lot of people.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't even know why. They imported illegal alien murderers, drug dealers, and child predators from all over the world to come into our country while putting elderly Christians and pro-life activists on trial for singing hymns and for saying prayers. They went to jail for that. Our predecessors turned this Department of Justice into the Department of Injustice. But I stand before you today to declare that those days are over, and they are never going to come back. They're never coming back. So now, as the chief law enforcement officer in our country, I will insist upon and demand full and complete accountability for the wrongs and abuses that have occurred. The American people have given us a mandate like few people thought possible. We won every single swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. We won districts, 2,750. Think of that, 2,750 districts compared to 505. So we won it at levels that have, I don't believe, ever seen before. That's the one where you see the map of the United States and it's all red. Red for Republican, not for communist. Red for Republican. They would like it to turn red for communist, but it didn't work out that way.
It didn't.
The American people have given us a mandate and really a far-reaching investigation is what they are demanding into the corruption of our system. And that's exactly, I'm sure, what Pam and Cash and everyone else mentioned here and not mentioned is going to be doing. We will expel the rogue actors and corrupt forces from our government. We will expose and very much expose their egregious crimes and severe misconduct, of which was levels you've never seen anything like it. It's going to be legendary. It's going to also be legendary for the people that are able to seek it out and bring justice. We will restore the scales of justice in America, and we will ensure that
we haven't seen anything yet. There's so much more.
Such abuses never happen again in our country. And that's why on day one, I signed an executive order banning all government censorship and directing the removal of every bureaucrat who conspired to attack free speech and many other things and values in America. My administration stripped the security clearances of the disgraced intelligence agents who lied about Hunter Biden's laptop from hell. We revoked the clearances of deranged Jack Smith, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, and the crooked law firms that aided their partisan persecutions. And I went through it. These are state and city courts, and the corruption is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's exactly right. There's no way a lower court can tell the President of the United States what he can and cannot do. He's the executive of the executive branch of the United States. Lower court judges are nothing.
We also terminated the clearances of the Biden crime family and Joe Biden himself. He didn't deserve it. In fact, he was essentially found guilty, but they said he was incompetent, and therefore let's not find him guilty, I guess. Nobody knows what that ruling was, but I didn't want any part of it. I think I would have rather been found guilty than what they found with him. They said he didn't know what the hell he was doing, and therefore he's let him go. I said, I'd rather be convicted, Pam. I think that was not good. I said, please convict me, don't say that. I pardoned hundreds of political prisoners who had been grossly mistreated. We removed.
What do you guys think? They made it so they couldn't arrest Joe Biden because they said that he didn't know what he was doing, but they let him continue to be president. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
The senior FBI officials who misdirected resources to send SWAT teams after grandmothers and J6 hostages. And it was a great honor for me to fire, I will tell you this, a great honor to fire James Comey. A great, great honor. That was nothing. There was no better day. A lot of people said, oh, that's too bad you did that. And they said that's going to be, and you know what? A year later, they said, that actually saved the administration because the level of corrupt things that we learned after that turned out to be that they were doing, in fact, really bad things. He was a terrible person, did terrible things, and persecuted people. Yeah. And all in the guise of being an angel, but he wasn't an angel. We created a brand new DOJ task force and anti-Christian bias. And under Director Patel, we're getting the FBI agents out of the headquarters in Washington, D.C., and back on the streets in pursuit of dangerous criminals where they belong and where they want to be. And, you have that big FBI building, and it's a very big building, and they were going to build an FBI headquarters 3 hours away in Maryland, a liberal state, but that has no bearing on what I'm about to say, but we're going to stop it. Not going to let that happen. We're going to build another big FBI building right where it is, which would have been the right place because the FBI and the DOJ have to be near each other. You can't that's one thing I did learn from this persecution. The FBI and the DOJ work together. Now, in my case, they work together for bad purposes, but they do. They were always together. So how can you have one that's 3 hours away? But one thing I said to Cash, well, we're going to get a great building built. It's going to be a magnificent building. He said, sir, we don't need that kind of room. I said, what do you mean? He said, I'm just going to take a old Department of Commerce building that's about 25% the size, and that's what I need. We're going to have the best staff that you've ever seen, and that's what I need. It's in a nice location, but I don't need that big building. Why don't you just sell the site to somebody? And we're going to be very happy. And they want to have far fewer people, but we also want to have them in D.C., and if for no other reason, we like having law enforcement walking the streets of our capital, because when the bad guys are out there and they see there's an FBI agent, that's the ultimate in law enforcement.
That'd be good.
And they're not going to be acting so bad. We're cleaning up our city. We're cleaning up.
Yeah, what do you guys think if trying to clean up the city of Washington, D.C., or I think they need to clean that up.
This great capital, and we're not going to have crime, and we're not going to stand for crime, and we're going to take the graffiti down, and we're already taking the tents down, and we're working with the administration, and if the administration can't do the job, we're going to have to take it back and run it through the federal government. But we hope the administration is going to be able. So far, they've been doing very well. The mayor's been doing a good job. We said there are tents galore right opposite the State Department. They have to come down, and they took them down right away. And so far, so good. But we want to have a capital that can be the talk of the world. When Prime Minister Modi of India, when the President of France, and all of these people, the head of Prime Minister of United Kingdom, they all came to see me over the last week and a half. And when they come in, I had the route run. I didn't want to have them see tents. I didn't want to have them see graffiti. I didn't want to have them see broken barriers and potholes in the roads. And we had it looking beautiful. And we're going to do that for the city. And we're going to have a crime-free capital. When people come here, they're not going to be mugged or shot or raped. They're going to have a crime-free capital again. And it's going to be cleaner and better and safer than it ever was. And it's not going to take us too long.
Yeah, I don't see nothing wrong with that. I think we should do that with the entire United States. What do you guys think? I think it's the best thing to do. I don't see nothing wrong with making Washington, D.C. great again, or America great again for that matter. I haven't heard anything that he's saying bad as of yet.
There's a new phenomena that is taking place with these violent, vicious lawyers that we have all over. They play the ref. You know what playing the ref is? Like the great Bobby Knight basketball coach. He'd scream and scream at the ref. He'd scream. I watched it. By the way, I love Bobby Knight because he endorsed me. And having Bobby Knight's endorsement in Indiana was an extremely good thing. A friend of mine said I was running in Indiana at the time. This was early on, 2016. And I was doing great. But a friend came up and said, "Do you know Bobby Knight?" I said, "No, I don't, but I hear he was a tough cookie." He said, not only tough, he was beyond tough, but he's the most popular guy you can imagine. It turned out he wanted to endorse me. He called me about 2 years before. He said, "Sir, I'd like to endorse you." I said, "Is this really Bobby Knight?" He said, "It's me." I could tell it was Bobby Knight. He had been known for throwing the chair across the court and slapping a player. Can't do things like that, right? And the man that came in fired him. He was a new administrator for the college. That guy didn't last very long. They were like 14-0, and they fired Coach Knight. That was not good, but he had a little chip in his shoulder. But he loved Trump, and he came in and he said, "I'd love to endorse you." He said, "If you ever run, please call me." So he said, "Do you know Bobby Knight?" I said, "Well, I don't know him," but he called me a couple of years ago. It was an amazing phenomenon. I took his number, and on each side of my desk in New York, I had stacks of paper, like nice and neat, but about 2 feet high each. And I said, I wrote his number down and I put it here 2 years ago. And I said, let me see if I can find it. It was almost like a miracle. I had other miracles that happened too. My ear is still throbbing. That was a miracle. That was a miracle also, wasn't it? That was a miracle also. How are you? Thank you. Thank you, Leo. Thank you. Thank you, my man. That was a miracle. Anyway, okay, that's it. That's very nice, thank you. But, so he said, Bobby Knight. So I said, I put his name down and I wrote it down. It's in one of these stacks. I lifted up. There would have to be 2,000-3,000 pages in each stack. I lifted it up, the first one, had no idea. And there was his name on a little card, Bobby Knight with his number. It was like incredible. I tell that story all the time. And I called him and dialed the number. He said, "I've been waiting for you to call." And he went out and he made a speech for me in a packed arena in Indiana, and it was over. It was over. He was a tough guy. He actually went a little far, if you remember. He made a great speech because he was actually a motivational type guy, to put it mildly.
Yeah, I don't know much about Bobby Knight, but I'm assuming he was a pretty good basketball coach. But I do have to cut in every once in a while just for copyright. So just so you know, I'm going to try to cut back as much as I possibly can. And I apologize for some of that.
But he left the stage, and then I'm talking, and he walks back onto the stage. I said, uh-oh, this is trouble. Why is he coming back? He was a big guy, too. Why is he coming back? He said, "May I say a few more words?" I said, "Yeah, go ahead, Bobby. Say a few more words." A little different. And he said, "Let me tell you something about this guy, Trump. This guy, if he has to, will use the nuclear weapons that we have. He will use he has no fear. He's going to use, and that's the kind of guy." And he walked off the stage. I said, I think I'm in big trouble, Pam. That was not good, but it worked out okay. In the meantime, we won the state in a landslide, and it was great. And it was just an amazing period of time. But this is the most amazing period of time. I think this is more amazing.
I think the reason why most people hate him as much is because he's doing things a little different than most presidents. And I believe that it's all the other presidents were, really calm, kind. And I always say that they were always they're all on the same team. But he's the only one that I know of that does things totally opposite. And it might look like he's steering the pot, but he's actually doing a lot better than the other presidents.
What's taken place is more amazing. I think it's more consequential. And if we do the job, one of the big media outlets said what we did was the most consequential election in the last 129 years. Well, if we do the job that we're all capable of doing, I think it's going to prove to be that and then some. And that's what we want to do. We have a real big shot at making this country so great, so great. What happened to our country was so sad. What they've done in 4 years to our country with the borders, with Afghanistan, the most embarrassing period of time, allowing the Russian situation, it was never going to happen with Ukraine, allowing October 7th to happen, would have never happened because under me, Iran was totally broke. They had no money. They weren't giving any money to Hamas or Hezbollah. It was totally broke. But allowing inflation, look at what inflation's done to people, been so devastating. And now you see that, by the way, price of eggs is down 35% in the last week and a half. We're doing a good job. Brooke is doing a good job. Brooke Rollins and everybody. And inflation's down, interest rates are down, gasoline has come down to a level that we haven't seen in a long time. All things that we wanted to do, because then everything else is going to be coming down. We want it to come down. We want bacon to come down, and groceries, a term I used to use. It's sort of an old-fashioned term, but I used to use it on the campaign trail, those last 90 perfect, beautiful days. We just hit it. And I want to thank Susie. You have done a great job. Susie Wiles. Great job, Susie. A big magazine just named her the most powerful woman in the world, and that's okay with me. She is the most powerful woman. You think about it, John, right? The most powerful woman in the world, but she's great. And we had a great 90 days. It was a perfect 90 days, and it was a great result, but we want to put that result to good use by doing a phenomenal job. And I want to tell you that Todd and Emil know this very well. We had an amazing judge in Florida, and her name is Eileen Cannon, and I didn't know her. I still don't know her. I don't believe I ever spoke to her, even during the trial, but I did appoint her, federal judge, and these fake lawyers, these horrible human beings, were hitting her so hard, public relations-wise. They were playing the ref. I don't think it's legal. I don't think it's legal. They might as well go out and just shout it in a courthouse. They were saying she was slow, she wasn't smart, she was totally biased, she loved Trump. I didn't know her, other than I saw her the couple of days that I was in court, and I thought her decorum was amazing. Anything bad they could say, though, they were saying about her, it was whatever they could say bad about a human being, all made up. Because actually she was brilliant. She moved quickly. She was the absolute model of what a judge should be. And she was strong and tough. And how do you get them to stop if you're a judge? How do you get them to stop with the playing the ref? Bobby Knight would play the ref. That's why I brought up the Bobby Knight story. He would play the ref. He'd scream at the ref. He'd scream so hard. Oh, boy, it was terrible, actually. And the people would come up, his assistant coaches would come up to place. Coach, don't do that. Don't do it. He said he's not going to change his tune, coach. He called it. He's not changing. I don't care. And he's screaming. That's when he threw the chair. He starts going crazy. And he said, no, he's not going to change this time, but he's going to change for the next play. And sure as hell he did. Bobby, by the way, had the last undefeated team in basketball. And relatively speaking, he had a team. He always had a team. He never had that. Well, he had a couple of great players, obviously, with some top NBA players, but very few relatively. He had a team, but he won the national championship 3 times, but he had the last undefeated team in basketball. And he would play the ref, and he would scream at him. He knew exactly what he was doing. They're doing the same thing. They said, no, he's not going to change now, but he's going to change for the next one. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to scare the hell. They wanted to scare the hell out of the judges, and they do it. And how do you stop it if you're a judge? Because you want to go home, you have a family, you have children, and the New York Times will write whatever these people say, and the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, and MSDNC.
Yeah, it's fake news all the way around. Yeah, that's why we got people like myself and other journal. Well, I don't consider myself a journalist, but you got all these people coming out with podcasts and stuff like that. It's just a lot better news.
And the fake news, CNN and ABC, and CBS and NBC. And
does anybody out there even watch those shows anymore? Let me know in the comments if you still watch those channels.
They'll write whatever they say. And what do you do to get rid of it? You convict Trump. All you have to do is be really tough on him and ultimately convict him, and they leave you alone. It's totally illegal what they do. I just hope you can all watch for it, but it's totally illegal. And it was so unfair what they were doing to her.
Yeah.
But they do it all the time with judges. But in her case, she was very courageous, and it only made her angry. Wouldn't you say? It just made her angry. She didn't like it. A lot of them say, oh, please don't say that about me. My family, what's my husband going to say? What's my wife going to say, or my kids? Please don't say that. And it had absolutely no impact on her in the case against me, which was a case, I will not use a bad word. I promised my wife I would never use a bad word, so just a little bad. The case against me was bullshit. And she correctly dismissed it. She correctly, look at Emil, he's looking, that's interesting. But these two guys were warriors. You got a warrior here. You got two warriors, I can tell you that. You got a whole bunch of them. But, and they wouldn't quit. They wouldn't take no for an answer. They just wouldn't quit. These two people right up here, and some others that are involved with it indirectly. And what the lawyers do is they're doing it to the Supreme Court justices, hoping that they'll...
You guys like it better? I try not to talk as much as I'm going to try to not butt in as much. And if you guys have been watching so far, would you guys like and subscribe, please? That'd be awesome.
Be overcome by the horrible things they say about them. They say things about Supreme Court justices and judges that are just horrible. They're playing the ref. Remember the way they treated Justice Thomas and Justice Alito and Justice Kavanaugh, Justice Gorsuch. Chief Justice Roberts get treated unbelievably badly, and they're hoping that they can sway them to go along because, again, what do? They're humans. You know, like it would be wonderful if everybody was just a perfect computer machine, but they're not. They're humans, and they don't want to be accused of many, many things, including gross incompetence. They don't like it, and they don't want it. There's not much they can do about it. You know, they're in a position they can't really fight back really very well. And so what they do is sometimes they get weak. I would say a majority, maybe, of the times. That's why I'm so impressed with Judge Cannon in Florida, how strong she was, how she held up. It actually made her more resolute than anything I've seen. I mean, it was amazing because they were hitting her so hard. It was so sad to watch this. But it's sad what they do to other judges. It's very sad what they do to the Supreme Court. And a lot of the judges that I had, if you look at them, they take tremendous abuse in the New York Times and the Washington Post, all of the different networks. They take such abuse. And honestly, very simply, they're afraid of bad publicity. They don't want bad publicity. And it's truly interference, in my opinion, and it should be illegal, and it probably is illegal in some form. There's no difference than speaking to a judge or shouting to a judge or doing whatever you have to do in a courthouse. They're doing it behind the back. They're usually doing it anonymously. They're saying anonymously, off the record, the judge is no good, but everybody knows where it's coming from. And it's totally coordinated. It's a campaign, and it's by the same scum that you have been dealing with for years, like guys like Andrew.
Yeah, there is so many corrupt judges out there, and I think you guys are seeing it. I'm not sure if they're all corrupt and evil, but damn, there's a lot of them out there.
Weissman, deranged Jack Smith, There's a guy named Norm Eisen. I don't even know what he looks like. His name is Norm Eisen of Crew. He's been after me for 9 years. Now, Crew is a charitable organization. And the reason I'm saying this, Todd, is I'm only going to get one chance to say this. But these are bad people. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he looks like. But everything I read is Norm Eisen of Crew. And Crew is a charitable organization. And that's a political thing. His sole life is to get Donald Trump. And he's been vicious and violent. And he's trying, and he probably had pretty good success over the years. But with me, how did he do? I think I'm president. Am I here because I'm president? But we had to take all of that abuse. Even during the trials, we had to take tremendous abuse. Like, these wonderful guys, they're not legitimate people. They're horrible people. They're scum. And
yes.
You have to know that. And you're going to have these cases where you can't allow yourselves to be deflected. You just can't let it happen. You have such a higher calling. And I believe that CNN and MSDNC, who literally write 97.6% bad about me, are political arms of the Democrat Party.
They are.
And in my opinion, they're really corrupt and they're illegal. What they do is illegal.
Yeah, I heard that. Somebody was telling me about that. He said illegal. Does anybody know what that means? I'm not 100% sure, but I heard that and I was like, ugh, that's weird.
It makes no difference how big a victory I had. I can have the biggest victory in history. It makes no difference what kind of a failure the other side has. These people are going to go after me. And I said it during the big speech on Tuesday night. I said about Democrats, and I don't like that. I have great respect, by the way, for what Schumer did today. He went out and he said that we're going to have to vote with the Republicans because it's the right thing to do. I couldn't believe what I heard. But, I think he's going to get some credit for it. I think, let's see what happens tonight with the big vote as it comes. But these networks and these newspapers are really no different than a highly paid political operative. Right. And it has to stop. It has to be illegal. It's influencing judges, and it's really changing law, and it just cannot be legal. I don't believe it's legal. And they do it in total coordination with each other. And everything we do, we're restoring law, restoring order, and restoring public safety in America. That's what we want to do.
We do.
And we're bringing honor and integrity and accountability back to the highest levels of the FBI, DOJ, and throughout our government. We're bringing our country back faster than anyone ever thought possible. We're working so hard at doing it. And
that's the thing is, I think nobody's used to somebody working this hard and they think it's corruption, but it's really, he's just trying to help. That's just my opinion.
We want fairness in the courts. The courts are a big factor. The elections, which were totally rigged, are a big factor. We have to have honest elections. We have to have borders. And we have to have courts and law that's fair. Well, we're not going to have a country. Crooked Joe Biden got us into a real mess with Russia and everything else he did, frankly, but he didn't know about it. And he, generally speaking, signed it with AutoPen. So how would he know? That AutoPen is a big deal. I don't know. They're having, who's doing this? So when my people come up, Will and all of the people, Steve, they come up and, sir, this is an executive order. They explain it to me. And, 90% of the time I sign it. 99% of the time I say do it. But they come up and I sign it. But you don't use AutoPen. It's, number one, it's disrespectful to the office. Number two, maybe it's not even valid because, who's getting him to sign? He had no idea what the hell he was doing. If he did, all of these bad things wouldn't be happening right now.
I always, everything Trump says has meaning. And when he says maybe it doesn't even count. What about all these executive orders that he signed? What about all those pardons that he signed? Are they legal? I bet we're going to find out. Guys. Hey, this is another 40 minutes long. If you want to go look at it, watch Fox News. Fox News it's amazing, guys. Hey, I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. And I'll have another episode tomorrow. Please give me a thumbs up, like, and share, and subscribe. That would be amazing. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you so much.